Since this nation was founded under God, more than 200 years ago, we have been the bastion of freedom, the light that keeps the free world aglow. We do not covet the possessions of others. We are blessed with the bounty we share. We have rushed to help other nations, anything, anytime, anywhere. War is just not our nature. We won't start, but we will end the fight. If we are involved, we shall be resolved to protect what we know is right. We have been challenged by a cowardly foe who strikes and then hides from our view. With one voice we say, we have no choice today. There is only one thing to do. Everyone is saying the same thing and praying that we end these senseless moments we are living. As our fathers did before, we shall win this unwanted war, and our children will enjoy the future we'll be giving.
5 years later, we remember September 11th, 2006. We play baseball tonight here in downtown St. Louis. A change for the Houston Astros. Andy Pettitte will not make the start. Taylor Buchholz will go for the Astros, and for the Cardinals, vying for his second consecutive Cy Young Award, it's Chris Carpenter. And as you break down his season, Al, the one thing that really stands out is how well he has pitched here at home.
Well, he's an outstanding pitcher. He leads the major leagues in ERA at home. But Carpenter is an all-around athlete. He's got all the weapons to destroy any batting order, and it's really great to see him pitching so well in his home ballpark.
And Al, you take a look at the last 13 years, what has happened in the game of baseball. The lowest home ERA, former Cardinal Matt Morris is on that list. Roger Clemens, the Rocket, did it with Toronto back in '97, and Chris Carpenter a chance to lower it even from 1.60. That's how good he has been this year.
Well, he's been that good, and if he wants that Cy Young, he's going to have to pitch like one down the stretch, because there are a few candidates, and that is one of the awards that's still up for grabs.
So it's Chris Carpenter and Taylor Buchholz tonight here from Busch Stadium. It's game one of an all-important three-game set. Jim Hayes will join us here at the ballpark when we return.
Jim Hayes back at Busch Stadium. The Cardinals catch a break, not facing Andy Pettitte, a left-hander tonight. The Cardinals have struggled against southpaws in the second half. Since the All-Star break, the Cards hitting just .227 against lefties, dead last in the bigs for that period. Buchholz is a righty. The Cards hit .272 against right-handers for the season. When we come back from break, Dan and Al rejoin you. Cards and Astros coming right up on FSN.
Here in the downtown St. Louis, full house expected once again tonight at the new Busch Stadium. Very important series here between these two teams as the Cardinals lead the Central by 4.5 in front of Cincinnati and 5 in front of Phil Garner's Houston Astros. Let's take a look at his lineup. Biggio, who has been struggling, 0 for his last 17, will start it off, followed by Lamb and then Berkman. Aubrey Huff, we haven't seen him wear that Astros uniform against St. Louis yet this year. Then Luke Scott, Burke, Everett, Ausmus, and on the mound it's Taylor Buchholz. Chris Carpenter gets the start for the Cardinals, Al, and he is 13-6 overall, an ERA under 3. And this is a big start for him, for the team to win, but also for him to build that resume for the Cy Young.
Well, he currently leads the National League in ERA at 2.97. He has the best home ERA in the major leagues. And after a rough road trip, what a better way to have your ace on the mound to hopefully restore order.
Vance Auto Parts starter is Chris Carpenter, and this is Biggio, the future Hall of Famer, is hitting .249, and the first pitch is a strike. Let's take a look at the Cardinals bullpen tonight. Rough afternoon for Jorge Sosa in Arizona yesterday, followed by Hancock and Flores and Looper, Thompson, Wainwright, Josh Kinney out there, Narveson and Tyler Johnson. We do not list Jason Isringhausen, checked out by George Paletta today, and it's going to be a while before we see him, if at all, for the remainder of the season, but he's out for at least, it looks like, another week. No balls, 2 strikes on Biggio. 0 for 15 on the road trip and 0 for 17 overall.
This is the first time he's been in the leadoff spot since late July.
Home plate umpire tonight is the crew chief. Rick Reed is behind the plate. And Biggio just gets a piece. Tim Cheat at first base, Ted Barrett at second, and Laz Diaz at third base. So a veteran crew for this series in St. Louis.
And it should be with these two clubs vying for the Central Division.
79 degrees, our game time temperature. Roland will throw on the run. And the first man retired. You worry about hot nights in St. Louis when Carpenter is on the mound. Defensively behind him. Around the Horn is brought to you by Auto Tire. 11 starts since the break for Carpenter and a 6-2 record. Originally, Preston Wilson was in the lineup, but with Buchholz now on the mound for Houston, it's Chris Duncan taking his spot, and he'll play right field.
Little gamesmanship as Andy Pettitte was originally scheduled to pitch. He is supposed to make the start tomorrow. Buchholz was going to make the start tomorrow. But I think Phil Garner, there is some talk that a rolled ankle by Pettitte yesterday, but I think a lot of it is just trying to disrupt the Cardinals and thinking there was a different pitcher on the mound.
Well, why not throw Buchholz out there against Carpenter and then take your chances in game 2 and 3?
Well, that's why I say it. Remember, the last win that Buchholz had was against the Cardinals, where he pitched very effectively.
1-1 pitch is hit out of play. Buchholz just recalled from the minor leagues. And as you mentioned, apparently in Milwaukee, Andy Pettitte rolled an ankle during batting practice, stepping on a baseball, so he'll get the start tomorrow.
And then Oswalt on Wednesday.
The 1-2 is off the glove of Roland and out to left field. And it's a base hit for Mike Lamb.
Scott had a tough day yesterday, committing a couple errors. That ball we've seen him suck up many times. See, with a left-handed batter, well off the line and tries to go to his glove side. It comes up on him a little bit, doesn't connect with it, into left field.
The always dangerous switch hitter Lance Berkman will dig in. 39 home runs, 120 RBIs on the season.
Ho-hum.
Yep, you can pretty much just pencil that in for Lance Berkman. When September comes around, he'll be among the league leaders in many offensive categories. Just another tremendous season. Could play the outfield, could play first base. A versatile guy. And they have had some changes from the beginning of the season, just like the Cardinals have gone through. With all the injuries and some of the changes at the trade deadline. The biggest in this lineup, Morgan Ensberg. Limited playing time. He is healthy. And when we saw him last, which was around the All-Star break, he was really he was struggling at the plate, to put it mildly.
Yeah, and then Lamb, who's sitting on first base for Berkman, really has taken advantage of that playing time, and Ensberg can't get back in.
Last time he was in the starting lineup was just a couple of days ago, and prior to that it was September 1st. So you won't see Morgan Ensberg tonight except off the bench. And he has been all or nothing. Berkman against Carpenter. 4 of the 5 hits have been home runs.
Well, good pitching will stop good hitting. But good hitting, if you make a mistake, they will make you pay. Carpenter, extra responsibility tonight. I mean, the extra part is that he is #1 at accepting responsibility, but the extra part is that he knows he has to set the tone like Suppan did after a rough road trip to New York, and Suppan got that first start and pitched brilliantly. The Cardinals had a 7-2 homestand.
Here's a 1-2 pitch by Carpenter. Runner goes. It's a ball thrown out to second. Goodbye. Mike Lamb off the bases after Molina's cannon. Pitch was a ball. The count is 2-2 on Berkman, and he gets Mike Lamb by a step or two.
Watch this pitch. It's inside, low cutter and everything, but Molina really took his time. He made sure his mechanics were fine. He got up on top of the delivery and then just fired a strike to second base. When you're throwing out about 50% of runners, that's what it looks like.
A swing and a miss by Berkman. First strikeout tonight for Carpenter. Cardinals coming up in their half of the first, and there's no score. Carpenter, welcome back to Busch Stadium here on September 11th, 2006. We're enjoying some baseball tonight here in downtown St. Louis. Cardinals lineup. Couple of changes because of the new pitcher. Miles moves to the top of the lineup. That was Preston Wilson, and now Duncan is in that lineup in right field. He'll bat second in front of Albert Pujols, then Roland, the red-hot Spezio, Encarnacion, Belliard, Molina, and Carpenter. On the bench tonight for the Cardinals, the former Astro Preston Wilson, also a former Astro, Jose Vizcaino, then Bennett, Rose, Rodriguez, Schumacher, and you see the rest of the bench as well. So Miles will lead it off, the Cardinals shortstop, who is hitting .269, couple of home runs, 27 driven in. And if you're wondering about David Eckstein, as Taylor Buchholz delivers a ball, and his numbers brought to you by Rico, just recalled from the minor leagues. Eckstein will not play on this homestand, but will travel on the next road trip, and he's very close. He's feeling good. The 1-1 pitch is taken inside by Aaron Miles. This would be the 5th day for Taylor Buchholz, so he is going on his normal days of rest. Their minor league club in New Orleans is in postseason play, so they called up Buchholz, and they're thinking about postseason play here in the major leagues.
Taylor Buchholz lost 3 games after he defeated the Cardinals in July.
Well, this is good to see, too. Edmonds, for the 2nd consecutive day, taking some BP, and apparently he felt pretty good. So this around 4 o'clock. Wouldn't that be a bonus to get Edmonds back and swinging a good stick?
Well, and the thing about Jim is it's after he has the activity is when he starts having the problems, the symptoms. So, you know, you just kind of have to let him have a good workout and then see how he responds to it.
Here's Duncan with nobody out, a runner at first base. Skies one to center field. That'll stay in the ballpark. Chris Burke over, and he'll make the catch. And back to first goes Miles. And it brings in Albert Pujols against Taylor Buchholz here in the 1st inning. Around the horn, brought to you by Auto Tire. Defensively, you see Adam Everett, the shortstop, and he is a good one. 97 double plays turned, 3rd most in the National League by shortstops. Scott Burke and Huff in the outfield, and you see the rest of the infield as well. Lamb, Everett, Biggio, and Berkman.
You know, they have one of the reasons why they are playing so much better is their defense is so good. Our lineup right now does not have a man with double figures in errors. The most errors in the starting lineup right now is Berkman with 6. They've only made 66 errors on the season.
1-0 pitch to Albert Pujols is a strike. I was upstairs talking to 5 different writers, separate occasions today, and asked them about the MVP. And I got 5 different responses. Some guy said, I take what the team does and throw it out the window. I look at the individual. Others said, a team has to get into postseason play for me to vote for that individual as MVP. So, you know, just going off visiting with some of the writers upstairs, you really have no idea how the rest of the country is going to vote.
No, I think it's, you know, the old argument about most valuable and who has the most outstanding season. You know, would be a guy that I can vote for most valuable only on a playoff team, but most outstanding season could come from anybody else.
One of the writers was telling me as Pujols strikes out for out number 2, he said the one thing that I take a hard look at is the rest of the lineup around him. And he said if you consider what's going on with Albert Pujols, no Jim Edmonds, no leadoff man and David Eckstein, and some of the other guys that have been hurt, he said Pujols to me is the clear-cut MVP and what he does defensively.
Well, and I think too because of the fact you just look at his game-winning hits. He's one away from tying Mays, you know, with 19 game-winning home runs, you know, of his game-winning hits that leads the major leagues, and that was back in '62.
Don't see Albert strike out too much. Matter of fact, he has struck out 116 fewer times than Ryan Howard this season.
Fewer. But he saw the good breaking ball. Buchholz has a pretty good fastball, but his curveball is his best pitch, and he has trouble with his command.
Scott Rowland, 1 home run away from 20 this season. Could be the comeback player of the year in the National League. 1 ball, 1 strike with 2 outs and a runner at first. That's Miles. Started the ball game offensively for the Cardinals with a leadoff walk. Real disappointing way to end the road trip yesterday for St. Louis. A late 7-4 lead. They couldn't hold it in the final 2 innings as the Diamondbacks picked up 5 runs and they won the game 9-7. Back-to-back home runs by Tony Clark and then Eric Burns.
Scott had a tough series, 1 for 10, and tough road trip, 2 for 18. But we all know last time he was at home, he was one of the better hitters and got a couple game winners. Let's hope he can get one tonight.
Cardinals were almost no hit against Ortiz, and then you looked at Brandon Webb on Saturday. A season low 1 hit to a 3-0 win. Friday night, Cardinals were pounded 13-1, so there were some ugly losses along the way. Fought off and caught by the shortstop Everett. We played 1 here at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. Aubrey Huff, Luke Scott, and Chris Burke coming up for Houston. There's no score. Work here in the 2nd inning. Of course, we all remember where we were when we found out the news, and the Cardinals were on the road in Milwaukee. Had to wait around a couple of days as the National Football League and then Major League Baseball, and of course we had golf at that time here in St. Louis as Tiger Woods was going to be playing in a championship event here in town, and all sporting events then were shut down, and of course you couldn't fly, so guys were scattered across the country to make sure that their families were okay and reunite with children and wives, as Pujols will take it himself. John Rodriguez was 5 miles away when it happened. He was in Manhattan. Cardinal outfielder
John Rooney and the White Sox were staying at downtown Manhattan hotel and had to bus back to Chicago.
Of course, Jason Marquis, New York native.
Morris's father had worked on, building the Twin Towers. So, I mean, it really hit a lot of people in many different ways, amongst how many people lost family and friends.
There's Luke Scott, who's hitting .368. It's on a torrid pace. Torrid pace. Once Preston Wilson was let go and found his way to St. Louis, and Luke Scott saw a very good amount of the playing time, and is cooled off a little bit, though. A little bit inside, and it's 3 balls and no strikes. And of course, baseball played a major role, at least to some extent, in the healing process. Jack Buck's poem, of course, comes to mind, and so many people across the country saw that poem, especially some of the games that were being played on the West Coast, and they had it played throughout the country that night. And before those teams took to the field, many of them saw them in the clubhouses, and they put it at the jumbotrons as the players were taking BP and fans were arriving early to the ballpark. And then who could forget the World Series that year, too? I mean, that was just a phenomenal World Series with the Yankees and the Diamondbacks. First walk issued by Carpenter. The pitch a little low to Chris Burke, the center fielder tonight.
Chris is an outstanding pitcher, but he has impeccable control. And when he doesn't get borderline pitches, like any pitcher, they suffer. But he had allowed just 3 walks in his past 7 starts. In his last start, he walked 2. So he had allowed 1 walk in 6 starts prior to the 2 he allowed in Washington, and then already 1 here tonight.
And you could see where Tony was just trying to squeeze out 1 more inning from Carpenter in the game in Washington, trying to get him 1 more win. And that was the game that the Cardinals came back and eventually lost the game on the blown save by Isringhausen, and this strike zone seems to be tight.
Yeah, you hate to dwell on it, but yesterday's strike zone was almost impossible. And if you want to speed up games, call strikes. You got a control pitcher out there. He's trying to make pitches and execute them. And then when you get pitches at the knees that are not called, if you get pitches in and out are not called, then you wonder why ERAs are so high. You got your answer. That's a ball, but not every pitch he's thrown has been.
3 balls, 1 strike on Chris Burke with Adam Everett on deck. Hitting has been a problem for Houston the last couple of seasons, and this season they rank 16th in the National League in average. 16th. 9th in home runs and 12th in RBIs. So they're trying to get anything going when they let go of Preston Wilson. But the ironic part of that was that he was second best in their team in RBIs.
Yeah, they said he had a little power early in the season, but then he stopped hitting for power, and that's what they were looking for.
Runner goes. It's hit out to right center field. Drifting, and making the catches Encarnacion out in center. Almost didn't get there, and it took a good play to catch up with it.
He's playing over into left field slightly, but that play has to be made. And it was made by Juan. Long run, but it looked like he kind of cut it straight across, and then he had to kind of angle back. Runner goes past the bag, and then now has to retrace his steps.
Scott back at first base. There's 2 outs, and it brings in the shortstop, Adam Everett. Everett hitting just .236, not known for his offense, but for his glove. 5 home runs, 54 driven in.
Yeah, well, sometimes we see a guy hit 300, and we say it's a soft 300. I don't care what Everett hits. He usually gets some big RBIs.
Seems like that against St. Louis. Or he comes up with some big plays defensively. He is a good player. Part of the Carl Everett deal that brought him to Houston. Jimmy Williams, the former manager, knew all about him and brought him to Houston. Felt he could be a productive player, and then all of a sudden he's their everyday shortstop. Hits it to his counterpart. Force play at second. Cardinals have Spezio, Encarnacion, and Belliard coming up. There's no score. The bar brought to you by Singular Wireless. Who should win the Cy Young Award in the National League? Text your vote to 42957. The choices we give you tonight: Carpenter, Brandon Webb. We saw him over the weekend. Oswalt, will see him Wednesday. Carlos Zambrano, who has been banged up from the Chicago Cubs, or somebody else. 42957 to text your vote. We still got 3 weeks to go, though. Still time to make a favorable impression on the voters. And the voters, not the same voters that vote on the MVP. Some do, and some are just select for the Cy Young, others just for the MVP. There's a strike to Spezio from Taylor Buckles. If you're just joining us, Andy Pettitte was to make the start tonight. Scratched from the start, and it looks like he'll go tomorrow night. Dealing with a sore ankle. Boy, Webb was impressive over the weekend. That sinker ball was working. Ground ball after ground ball.
You know, I hope that Jason Marquis watched that performance and noticed that I think it was 4 1/3 innings before he threw his first non-sinker.
They have to convince him just to throw something else.
They have to convince him, and the Cardinals at times would like to convince Marquis to throw sinker, changeup, sinker, 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 occasional changeup to get him off the velocity. But if you got a good sinker and it's moving both ways and moving downward, throw it.
Boy, is he hot right now. That's Spezio. That's over the head of the right fielder. And Scott is digging for 2. Over the head of Aubrey Huff. It's a double for Spezio. And Tony La Russa was saying prior to the game, we got to find a way to get him into the lineup right now, whether it's at third base, left field, second base, right field, whatever the case may be. But he is swinging a hot bat.
He was probably the best hitter on the road trip for the Cardinals, and now he continues right here. 7 for his last 18 with 4 home runs. We saw him hit 2 home runs the last game we televised, and you know, he's just out there and just making a mark for another contract.
Encarnacion, the center fielder tonight, double by Spezio. He's at second. First pitch to him. Showing bunt, bunts it in the air and fouls it back.
Lucky that he fouled it back and out of play. Anyplace else, that's how hard he hit it. Might have gone over the infield. Right, popping up in the air, you're going to be out.
Cardinals and Astros matching up for the first of 3 tonight and the first of 7 games in the next 2 weeks. 6 more meetings after tonight. Here comes an 0-1 pitch. Pull to the shortstop. Spezio can't advance. Everett, good play. Ford key matchup, and it's that Cy Young Award theme, and we talk a lot about Chris Carpenter. Let's break down what's happened with Brandon Webb this season. He's 15-6 now, so 2 ahead in the win department. ERA is slightly higher than Carpenter's, but you see the walks and the strikeouts pretty evenly matched there.
I don't even think you can make a difference in the ERA.
This is Belliard. Has 1 home run with the Cardinals, 10 RBIs, and lifts it out to center field. Spezio picking up Jose Oquendo, pointed to him and looked back and wisely stays at second. And it brings in Molina. Well, Carpenter and Marquis are both within striking distance of the league lead in wins, something that has not been accomplished by Cardinals pitchers, and Matt Norris did it. That was an 0-1. He had 22 wins that season. Cardinals' final open date of the season will be Thursday, and they will pitch around Molina and bring up Carpenter. Interesting, with a guy hitting .222. And then we welcome San Francisco to town. We saw Phil Garner run against Molina in the first inning. I thought that was a little interesting, and he does this here in the second.
Molina 0 for 2, so not much of a history there. I think we're happy about it.
Sunday, September 17th, the Cardinals play the Giants at 1:15. Coca-Cola and Schnucks have teamed up with the Cardinals to bring the first 25,000 fans with a paid admission a figurine to commemorate Chris Carpenter's Cy Young Award-winning season of 2005. For tickets, visit the Cardinals website at stlcardinals.com or call 314-345-9000.
First prediction. Carpenter's going to get himself a base hit here. Hopefully it'll be good enough for the lead.
Well, at least the Cardinals get him through the order. 2 outs, runners at first and second. The speed of Spezio, which isn't bad. It's above average at second base. Outfield shallow, though, with Chris Carpenter at the plate. Aaron Miles waiting on deck if Carpenter can extend the inning. 1-0 pitch. Hard hit, but off the glove of the shortstop. Force play, safe. Everybody's safe.
As I said, he's going to get a hit. I hope it was good enough for the score run, which it wasn't, but Everett knocked it down, and they couldn't get the force play. A late, hard slide at second base, and Molina a little bit hurt. Hit the ball hard, a fastball right there, short hops Everett, and Molina gets right in there.
I don't know if that short hopped him, Al. I think it may have got him on the heel of the glove. It's tough to tell.
It's a play like Rowan. Scored a base hit, but a play like that, we've seen both of them make the play numerous times.
They just changed it to an error, so at E6. Little dinker down the left field line, and the catch is made by Luke Scott, and he saves a couple of runs. Saves a couple of runs with a diving catch out in left. Baseball history brought to you by Schnucks. The Cardinals and Mets play the longest game in Major League history. 25 innings in 7 hours and 4 minutes. That's longest game in Major League history. I know there's a game that, remember Marty Barrett, Wade Boggs, they played with the Boston Red Sox, a minor league affiliate. That's the longest game in professional baseball.
That was something like 33 and right over 2 days. But I played in that game. pitched 3 innings. Kenny Reitz hit a home run to tie it up in the top of the 9th. I pitched 3 innings, the 9th, 10th, and 11th. Mike Garman came in for a couple. Eventually, Claude Osteen pitched 9 1/3 shutout innings in relief.
9 1/3.
9 1/3 and got a no decision. St. Louis and Sonny Siebert came in, threw a double play ball. Bank McBride was on first base in the top of the 25th. There was no scoring from the top of the 9th to the top of the 25th inning. And Bake was on first base, and their pitcher tried to pick him off and threw a wild throw down in the corner, and he scored all the way from first. And Bowie Kuhn was in the first row and had to sit there the entire time, and they kept the camera on him to make sure he didn't leave. Commissioner of Baseball.
And he didn't leave.
He didn't leave.
Remember you telling me a couple of years ago he was just a little bit upset about that. And he had to sit there hour after hour.
Oh, no, he's the commissioner of baseball. He loves baseball.
Loves baseball.
Couldn't get enough of it.
We all have a breaking point.
Oh. 7 hours and 4 minutes? No way.
Called third strike. That's strikeout number 2 for Carpenter tonight. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the St. Louis Cardinals, LLC, and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of the game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals, LLC. Taylor Buchholz is hitting .034 this year. No home runs, no RBIs. Going back to the Cy Young Award, and we're talking about the MVP and whether it matters if you're on a winning team or not. You know, some voters are going to take a look at Brandon Webb and see what's happening with Arizona. No chance of getting into postseason play. The Chicago Cubs may wind up with the worst record in baseball. You know, that kind of takes Zambrano out of the equation. You look at Carpenter.
Well, you know, I mean, sometimes you can look at it the other way and say, you got a championship caliber team, you should win more games.
Good point.
72. Steve Carlton won 27 games for a team. He won almost 60% of his team's games, his team's victories.
Some folks are saying as the 2-2 pitch is hit up the middle, but caught by the second baseman Belliard, that for Pujols to be knocked out of the MVP with the kind of year that he has had, and he's one shy of his career high in home runs at 46. He's 45 right now. That you would have to have a season like Ryan Howard has put together where it's just dramatically different in home runs and RBIs. You know, the power numbers stand out.
You'd have to get over 60.
Yep.
And 150 RBIs.
I think so. Now you take a look at the American League, and how about a guy like Johan Santana, who is undoubtedly going to win the Cy Young Award? What about MVP? There's some with the Minnesota Twins that are saying that the pitcher, Santana, should be the MVP.
And there have been pitchers that have won the Cy Young and MVP.
David Ortiz came out with kind of his own personal campaign. He said, just because we're out of contention and I missed some games doesn't mean that you should exclude me from MVP talk. Another guy you got to look at is Derek Jeter.
Since I'm talking about Jeter, it almost seemed like in order for a pitcher to win it, you have to have everybody being down by position players.
2-2. Mentioned our game time temperature tonight is 79 degrees. And remember, in his last couple of starts here at home, you see the drops of sweat dripping from his cap. He's getting dehydrated, and that's been a problem with him. A strikeout there of Craig Biggio. And after the walk to Luke Scott back in the second, that's 5 straight. And a couple of strikeouts with a sweaty Chris Carpenter tonight. 2, 3, and 4. The order for the Cardinals here in the bottom of the third is we are at Busch Stadium in downtown St. Louis. A changeup and Duncan out in front. He flied to center his first time up. These two rivals, the Cardinals and the Astros, have not faced each other since a 4-game series at Houston right before the All-Star break. And entering that series, you might remember the Cardinals were kind of in a tailspin after a rough situation with interleague play on the road. And the Cardinals would wind up winning the final 3 games of the series and pushed Houston even further back in the division. If Houston would have swept that series, they would have been tied with the Cardinals. And if the Cardinals wind up winning the division, they can look back at that series as being one of the most important this year.
Well, I think this series is even more important. And then it really doesn't matter. Still with 20 games left and 7 against these clubs, you still got to win your fair share. But if you keep on winning series, the Cardinals will be fine.
Duncan pulls it foul. I think a thing that concerns you a little bit, if you're the Cardinals, is that historically you've not played great against San Diego or San Francisco. And you still got series with both those clubs left.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You've just got to knock off whoever your opponent is on the game you're playing.
2-2 pitch. At that time when we saw him prior to the All-Star break, Chris Duncan was not even with the club. Things have changed. Preston Wilson was still wearing an Astros uniform. The Cardinals had just acquired Jeff Weaver. Let's see what he gets here on 3-2.
Fastball.
Ooh, got away with it too.
Dislocation. That's what you meant about getting away with it. Wanted away and pretty much is in the middle of the plate.
Taylor Buchholz was part of the Billy Wagner deal a couple of years ago.
Working on the sinker. That's not where you want to throw a sinker up in the zone.
It was a high prospect Phillies organization, and the Phillies gave him up along with a couple other players to get Billy Wagner. He's 24, and tonight is his 19th Major League start. Up and into Duncan. And Pujols will bat again with a man on. Struck out his first time up, and this is what makes Albert so good. Struck out on a breaking ball, but you know, Al, you're going to see the adjustment made in this at bat inside the game. Some guys do it from game to game. Pujols can do it from pitch to pitch, at bat to at bat.
Well, the thing is that he struck out on a pitch that was out of the strike zone. And you might fool him one time, but you don't fool him often. The pitch is out of the strike zone. And every time I look at him recently, when I see him uppercut so many pitches and pop-up pitches, I just don't think he's as healthy as a lot of people are making him out to be, because 89-mile-an-hour fastball up, it usually gets crushed. Hanging breaking ball outside the strike zone.
I was talking with Tony the other day about the MVP, and he said, look, I'm biased. I said, really?
Yeah.
He said, I'm going to go with Albert Pujols, but he said, you know, people forget what he's been dealing with this year, which has been the oblique, and he did mention the elbow. Good example of what you're talking about there. 88-mile-an-hour fastball, and Pujols swinging through it. Let's see what Buchholz wants to do here on 1-2. Struck him out with a breaking ball on the outside portion of the plate.
Sinker.
His first time up. Pujols picks up a base hit on a 1-2 mistake by Buchholz.
He has a four-seam fastball as the pitcher is throwing by him, and then he's trying to get cutesy with a two-seamer, a sinker that he's working on. And see, Osmus' glove is up over the middle of the plate. Not a good sinker. Lucky it just got a single out of it.
Or why not trying to get him out again on the same pitch that you struck him out first time up. First and second for Scott Rowland. Nobody out here in the Cardinals' half of the third. Rowland popped out to short his first time up. And that ended the first. Out to left field. Hangs up there, and it's caught. Luke Scott with the catch, and that's the first out. Cardinals already have left 4 on in this ball game. And here's Spezio, who doubled his first time up. Just get the idea that the Astros, and here we are on September 11th, they're 5 games out, but they never panic. As recently as August 21st, the Astros were in 4th place, 7 games back of the Cardinals, and looking up at Cincinnati and Milwaukee.
Well, they got a lot of veteran players. They've seen history on their side the last couple of years, winning the wild card and really having 2 terrible seasons and then a good second half and make the charge to win the wild card.
Good second half, and once they are in, they've got their pitching. They've got Oswalt, and Pettit, and Clemens ready to roll.
Got the power pitching that they can win in a short series. Berkman, all the offense they need. Lidge in the past has been all the bullpen, with their setup men. And Wheeler is throwing great again.
They feel that Lidge is back on track too.
Sure. They may still describe it as a bullpen by committee, but Lidge is going to be used at the end.
1 ball, 1 strike. Spezio pulls it foul. See Pettit tomorrow, and the Cardinals, for whatever reason, have really struggled against left-handed starters this season. They are 21 and 31. It's a bit surprising that they've struggled that much. Last 2 years, they were 58 and 33 against lefties.
Yeah, it's just hard to imagine, but Edmonds hit lefties better than righties last year.
Held up just enough. The count is even. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Spezio. Cardinals will play 13 of their final 20 games here at home.
That's a plus.
Sure is. They have been very good here at their home ballpark. 2-2. Spezio out to right center field. Hanging up there, and it's caught. Over to get it, Chris Burke, and Duncan does not advance to third. He's got to be at third base.
Well, he thought it was going to get down, and he was more than halfway. So by the time he sees the catch and gets back, he can't recover. It's out there. Now he's flipped around, and it's too late. To be honest with you, when I wanted Spezio to try and come to third base on the fly ball off the bat of Belliar in the second inning. Test Burke.
Burke's a guy that normally is an infielder, but a good athlete playing center. One of their big question marks that they face, Burke normally a second baseman, is what will they do with Craig Biggio beyond the season? He has had a rough second half. He's trying to get to 3,000 hits. A hanger, and that's pulled foul. That situation, Al, even if he was done tonight, I mean, Craig Biggio, in my mind, is in the Hall of Fame, but to solidify it, he feels he's got to get to 3,000 hits.
Well, I think he's got the pride, and he's played so long and been productive that obviously he'd like to get there.
Nothing and 2 the count on Encarnacion. One of those tough things that a manager and a GM have to face, and even an owner.
Yeah,
because Ray McClain is as involved as anybody in baseball as far as being involved with his his club, the owner.
You got guys that have been in the franchise 16, 17 years. You know, they are sort of the face of the franchise. Bagwell was in that situation. Now he has departed through injury. So that made that a tough but an easy decision.
1-2 pitch, bounced up the middle. That's a base hit. Here comes Duncan. He's going to score, and it's a 2-out RBI base hit by Juan Encarnacion. 1-0 St. Louis. The Cardinals pick up the first run of the ball game, and with Carpenter on the mound, that's always a good idea because Mr. Carpenter can shut you down.
Wasn't real pretty, but very effectively as he just bounces it up the middle and through. No play as Duncan, for a big man, once he gets moving, picks him up and lays him down. So the Cardinals take a lead, and as you say, psychologically, that is very, very key. Not only for the Cardinals, but it's also for Carpenter, and that puts that little nail in Houston.
And it comes with 2 outs, too. It looked like Taylor Buchholz was pitching himself out of trouble after a leadoff walk that now comes around to score. Then the single by Pujols. He got rolling in Spezio, and Juan delivers with a single up the middle. Belliard a single out to left. Luke Scott, they're going to test him. Out and left. Here comes Pujols. He scores, and it's 2-0.
And there's no doubt after I saw Luke Scott throw a ball earlier that there was no way he was going to throw out Albert unless he fell down. So Albert is a man possessed when he's on the base paths, and scoring is the only thing he knows how to do.
And snaps an 0 for 20 skid for Mr. Belliard, and it makes it 2-0 Cardinals as Pujols scores the run. Albert Pujols has scored his 105th run. Carlos Beltran, who is on the shelf now for the Mets, leads the league at 117.
Chase Utley's up there, right?
Utley's just one back of Beltran.
And Albert trying to do something no one in history has done, and that's to win the scoring championship for the 4th consecutive year.
And the last to do it 3 in a row is Pete Rose. Here's Molina, back-to-back singles for the Cardinals. Bottom of the order, doing some damage. It's evident that the Cardinals can run on the outfield arms of Luke Scott and Chris Burke.
Another 2 out here just to get Carpenter through the inning.
Buchholz pitched against St. Louis. This ballpark on May 31st. He went 5 innings, took a no decision, 4-3. The Cardinals would win in 11, and then he pitched on July 6 at Houston and won that ball game 4-2. At the knees on the outside corner to Molina. He was intentionally walked his first time up.
Only 24 years of age, and he's had some control problems when he's got here to the big leagues. He's walked 3 tonight, one of them intentional.
On average, allowing 4 runs in his 18 starts. Off the mask of the home plate umpire, and a good rip by Molina. It's 2 balls, 2 strikes. Taylor Buchholz, pitch count already at 58. See, he's thrown 29 in this inning.
29 combined in innings 1 and 2.
Runs in this inning coming with 2 outs. Molina trying to add to it. 2-2 is on its way. Reaches for it, slowly hit. A flip to the pitcher, and they just get him. Couldn't find the bag, and Molina retired. Cardinals pick up 2, and they lead it 2-0. The pennant race is heating up. Stay on top of all the action with mobile alerts from STLCardinals.com. In-game scores, lead changes, injury updates, plus club and league news. It's simple. Using your mobile phone, text the keyword Cardinals to 65246 or Visit STLCardinals.com to sign up today. Mike Lamb taps one foul, 1 ball, 1 strike. The innings are starting to pile up for Chris Carpenter. Came in with 190. Compare that to last season, 241 in the regular season for Chris Carpenter as he went 21-5.
One of the benefits of having a little time on the disabled list. Get a little bit of rest, saves you some time.
And it looks like we will not see a starter get to 20 wins this year.
Probably not. In the National League.
One ball, 2 strikes.
It's amazing how innings become such a critical issue to starters, and then even more critical to rookies.
Good pitch. And Carpenter has struck out 3 of the last 4.
He's got 4 on the night, and Lamb's always hit him well. He's got the base hit tonight, but look at the tailing action. Thought that ball was going to be inside, and it just tails right back over the middle of the plate. So he gives up on it.
Now it's Lance Berkman, 1 shy of 40 in the home run department. Good curveball by Carpenter for strike 1. Another one and a high strike that time, and it's 0-2. The strike zone is loosening up a bit. But when you're around the plate, you start getting the benefit of the doubt. Berkman, from this side of the plate, 96 RBIs. He's got 24 from the other side and only 5 home runs. So 34 from this side, and this is the dangerous side of the plate that he hits from. Shift is on, and he shoots 1 foul.
His numbers would be very good if he was just strictly a left-handed batter. 327, 34 home runs, and 96 RBIs. But late in the game, you're going to want to bring in a lefty to turn him around.
Last 4 hitters, the only one that has not struck out is the pitcher, Taylor Buchholz. There's another one. Starting to find it. That's 5 on the night and 4 of the last 5. And it's the same pitch that he struck out Mike Lamb with. Starts at you and then whoop, right over the middle of the plate.
Well, that, and then you think about it, he also has a cutter that he can throw that just run right in on those left-handed batters. So that's another reason why they give up on that fastball that breaks, just peels off and just slides to over the strike zone.
0-1 is hit out to right field, and the catch is made. Chris Duncan comes up with it, and a 1-2-3 inning for Carpenter. Midway through 4, Cardinals lead it 2. Brought to you by your Mid-America Chevrolet dealers.
I see Berkman on the breaking ball to get the first one. And he's got Osmus last inning. There's a little cutter out there. Then he got the slider, gets Biggio, and then he starts working off the left-handers. That was Mike Lamb. And then he freezes Berkman again. So Berkman saw the breaking ball one time come into him, thought the last time it was going to be the same pitch, and he got the fastball that slid away.
I'm listening to you describe that. I'm hearing sinker, cutter, curveball. I mean, you get inside that box with 2 strikes, you're at his mercy more times than not. You just don't know what's coming, and he's got command of all those pitches.
Well, that's what makes him such an effective weapon. Is one, he has the weapons to retire hitters, and more importantly, he has command of all those pitches to throw them in areas that he's not going to get hurt by.
Carpenter reached on an error by the shortstop Everett, first time up on a hard hit ball. A check swing. You see where Carpenter too, when he's been on the mound, very aggressive tonight. We're in the 4th, 2-0 St. Louis. Count of 2 balls, 2 strikes on Carpenter. Miles on deck, and then Duncan, if anybody can reach Albert Pujols. Backing up the third baseman, Mike Lamb. Best Damn Sports Show, period. The greatest nightly sports show on television. And coming up tonight, the best of Kobe and LeBron. Two NBA stars will join a former NBA star, John Sally. Best of Kobe and LeBron on the Best Damn Sports Show, period. Miles has flied out to left, and he walked in the first. It was the bases loaded his last time up. And it was a pitch that he fought off, hit it down the left field line, took a great play from Luke Scott to take away a couple of RBIs and end the inning. Fights this one off. Everett thought about charging in. Double clutches. Safe at first is Miles. A tough night for Mr. Everett.
And he is an exceptional defensive player, but that's a reason why he never take anything for granted. Hustle down that line, and sometimes you'll find a lucky base hit. Little jam shot here. He starts to come in, then he lays back, gets it on one hop, but he lost his grip on it. By the time he re-grabbed it and threw, Miles hustling all the way, he's safe at first base.
Base hit awarded to Miles, and here's Duncan. Now they just change it to another error. So that's the second error committed by Adam Everett. Initially, they put up a hit. They still haven't put up the error. Duncan walked and scored back in the third. The RBI by Encarnacion. 2 runs tonight have been scored with 2 outs. Pujols on deck, and here comes a 2-0 pitch to Duncan. Unloads out to deep right field. High towering shot. Will it stay fair? And it is foul. Looking for a fastball, and looked like he got it. Boy, he hit some high majestic shots.
Yeah, he does.
That one was just pulled a little foul.
And people get into it because every time he swings the bat, he doesn't get cheated, so you always know there's potential if he connects.
Last time we were home, he hit a dramatic home run against the Marlins.
Speaking of those Marlins, look out. They're leading 13-3 over the Mets at home. They're tied 2.5 games behind the wild card lead, second place with Philadelphia and with San Francisco.
Got to get some pitches to hit with this man behind you, Albert Pujols, and that's what's happened here with Duncan.
Well, initially, we always thought that he'd get a lot of fastballs, but because he started having success, he started getting a lot of off-speed pitches, but what he did see was strikes.
Here's a 3-2. Jammed him, but fought it off enough to hit it out of play.
Last time up, they challenged him with 3 fastballs when he got to about this point in the sequence. 3-2 pitch. See if he doesn't throw over. Osmus looking in there because, you know, a 3-2 pitch might start the runner. Duncan strikes out a lot, so it's one of the reasons why you may not.
And you got Pujols on deck.
Fastball away.
This one is going to be a fair ball. Is it out of here? This ball is off the top of the wall. Duncan on his way to second base. In there safely with his slide, and Miles winds up at third. Good at bat there by Duncan. He pulled the one foul. Then he hit another one where he hit even better on a line that was foul, and that one off the top of the wall.
Remember, he set up and accentuated away, and look, he's almost even up a little bit. Where's the glove go? Right back over the middle, reaches up, and this ball was hit hard. I was watching the right fielder, Aubrey Huff, and he really just kind of knew he had no play. He may have a carom off the wall, And that's what he was hoped for. Now with first base open, they'll walk Pujols.
Phil Garner not shy about loading up the bases. This will be the second time that the Cardinals have had the bases loaded. First time, though, a little easier decision when you got Chris Carpenter as the scheduled hitter. And this time it'll be Scott Rowland. You do put your young pitcher, though, in a tough spot here in the fourth inning. Down already 2-0. And a perennial all-star digging in, and Scott Rowland with the bases loaded and only one out.
And Fernando Nieve is warming up in the bullpen for Phil Garner. You know, in some ways you think that what's going to be Pettit and Carpenter matched up. And, you know, Carpenter, you know, is a reigning Cy Young Award winner. Pettit has been pitching very well. They might have made, you know, the decision to say, okay, we'll bring up Buchholz. He was going to start tomorrow anyway. This is his normal day, and we'll save Pettit for another day and hope we get a split in the first two games. You hope at the very least a split.
And Phil Garner has seen enough from Buchholz. He is motioned to the bullpen. Taylor is done. And the Cardinals knock out the Astros starter here in the fourth. So Rowland will dig in with a new pitcher coming in, and the base is loaded and only one out when we come back. As we remember, September 11th, Old Glory in its glory here at Busch Stadium. Fernando Nieve, 30th appearance on the season. He has made some starts for the Astros. This is our call to the bullpen, brought to you by your Mid-America Chevrolet dealers. They bring him in a real tough spot. 2-0 lead for the Cardinals. Bottom of the fourth, bases loaded and only one out. Scott Rowland has popped out to short and flied to left. Cardinals already in this game have stranded 6. The first pitch to him down the left field line. It's hooking and foul. Jumped on the first pitch. The Cardinals, we always talk about the importance of getting that first run. The Cardinals have scored first in the last 3 meetings and won all 3 against Houston. And between the two teams, the team that has scored first this season is 6-3. So it certainly matters if you can jump out to that early lead.
I mean, more so now than any other time, that first innings, shutting down the opposition, or the first one to get a lead, how important it is. Tony was talking about in the pregame show that he saw where some team in the American League and a second division team, you notice they were way down the standings, but when they got the first run, scored the first run of the game, they were 20 games over 500.
1 ball, 1 strike on Scott Rowland. Looks at a ball just outside. Buchholz struggled with the walks, even though 2 of them were intentionally walked for tonight. He struck out 1, allowed 5 hits in 3 1/3. Chance here for Scott Rowland. Ahead in the count, 2 balls and a strike. Here it comes. Ball 3.
Got young pitchers. Now they're 24-year-old that Scott is facing. He has pitched 1 game against the Cardinals, only 2 innings. And he spent a stint on the disabled list this year. You know, they made his major league debut this year, so it's one of these guys where he's still not battle tested, especially in September.
Here comes a 3-1 pitch to Rowland. A couple of the pitches have been called balls, but certainly looked like strikes. Strike zone is tightened up for Nieve. It's been like that on both sides. Although I have thought that it's loosened up a little bit with Carpenter the last couple of innings. This crowd sold out here at Busch Stadium, ready to erupt. Bases loaded, and a 3-2 pitch on its way to Rowland. Spoils the pitch.
Good description there. Just get enough of it to stay up there for the mistake.
Cardinals have had all these injuries along with the Astros for Phil Garner, but St. Louis has had the combination of Rowland, Pujols, and Carpenter. I mean, a pretty good base to build your team around. Another 3-2 pitch to Scott Rowland. Fought off again and fouled away.
Like to keep all those big weapons available and get back a couple, and next time, and Edmonds, stretch run.
Last 3 pitches, 89 miles an hour. The more that Rolen sees from this right-hander, more locked in you figure he gets. 3-2. Rolen swings and hits it to Berkman. Only play to go to first, and a run will score. And with that diving stop, he saves a run. It's 3-0 Cardinals and an RBI for Scott Rolen, his 82nd.
Berkman plays a very fine first base. And here to the glove side. Falls down as the ball came up on him a little bit, and his only play was to get the out at first, but the run comes across. And
they will intentionally pass Spezio. They have done their homework. They know he's swinging one of the hottest bats in this lineup. First base open. They'll deal with Encarnacion, who has an RBI single with 2 outs earlier tonight. That's the 3rd intentional walk issued to the Cardinals this evening, and the 5th overall.
You know, the Cardinal fans not happy about it, but every time you do this, you're just opening up for that bigger inning.
That's number 4, Spezio to first. Time for the duck. Bases loaded, and Encarnacion digs in. Prior to 1998, when was the last time a Cardinal led the league in home runs? Good question. Of course, 98, Big Mac. 2 outs, bases loaded for Juan Encarnacion. Pitch inside, so Nieve again falls behind. Also, Al, I mean, you're asking a young pitcher to be put into an even tougher spot.
Throw strikes, put pressure on the defense.
Everybody becomes just a little bit tighter. Inside, 2 balls. Yeah, 2 balls, no strikes. Cardinals got 2 in the 3rd. 1 here in the 4th and trying to add to it. He was getting the fastball and fouled it away. 2 balls and a strike.
Now, you'd never go up to a rookie and say, what do you think? You want to pitch to Spezio or pitch to Encarnacion? So you make that decision. But if he had more tenure, you know, it might be an occasion where the guy'd say, look, I'd rather face the other guy than the one you are making me face with the bases loaded.
2-2. Juan didn't like the call. 40,000 plus didn't either.
I was over, but low.
You look up after that base hit. Juan Encarnacion is hitting .286. Looks like he's going to wind up with 20 or more home runs and drive in close to 90.
How about 11 games since August 27th, 366. 3-2.
Well, one of the most exciting plays in the game of baseball. 3-2. 2 outs. Bases loaded. He gets one in the gap and could clear them all. Duncan, Pujols, and Spezio on the bases. Crowd comes alive. And he walked him. 4-0 Cardinals. Duncan scores. That's the risk that you run.
And that's why you say, you know, if they want to go ahead and walk him with the bases loaded, a youngster up there, or really any pitcher, you got to live with the consequences.
Looked to be over, but low.
Second RBI for Juan tonight.
The second with 2 outs. Here's Belliard with 2 outs, bases loaded, and a pitch in the dirt. And time called by Ausmus.
Yep, Ausmus going to go out there and settle him down because by the time a youngster. You come out there and he walks that guy, and then he'll just self-destruct and walk another runner in.
Al, it can be deflating. I mean, they have walked 5, intentionally passed 3. You're down 4-0, and they're facing Chris Carpenter.
Well, if you think about 5 hits, 5 walks, and 2 errors.
Out to left center field. Pretty well hit at the track, at the wall, and it's off the base of the wall. Gets away from both outfielders. All 3 runs are going to come in to score, and Belliard clears the bases. Bases loaded triple for Ronnie Belliard. 7-0 Cardinals.
4 RBIs on the night for Belliard. A single, an RBI, and now the triple, an RBI. So the walks eventually will come back to haunt. And good piece of hitting. Wasn't it was the greatest pitch, but he got on top of that pitch. After the catcher goes out there, Osmus, he's going to say, come on now, throw a strike. He was looking for one, and he hit out, plugged the gap out in left center. Didn't know if it'd get out. The center fielder got so close to it, the carom went by him, and then it got by the left fielder also.
Belliard with 4 RBIs. Clears the bases, 5 runs in the inning, and it's the Cardinals on top. Oh, and 2 on Molina.
Buckles, 3 1/3 innings, 5 hits, 5 runs, 2 earned, 4 walks, 2 of those intentional, and 1 strikeout.
Didn't you say you can open up the floodgates if you intentionally pass hitters? Well, it has happened here in this inning. Couple of intentional walks come around to score. Air comes around to score. And Pujols showing some emotion. 7-zip St. Louis.
Busch Stadium, and Cardinals 7-0 lead. But our Affleck question prior to 1998, when was the last time a Cardinal led the league in home runs? 1940, Johnny Mize with 43. That was the Cardinals' home run record for many, many years until, well, let's just say until Mark McGwire showed up. Ronnie Belliard with the biggest blast, a bases clearing triple to give the Cardinals a 7-0 lead. And a ball get out there in the outfield, so Encarnacion retrieving it. Cardinals scored 2 runs in the 3rd and 5 in the 4th. And Carpenter on the mound with that 7-0 lead. He's allowed a hit in the 1st inning to Mike Lamb, a walk to Luke Scott, and he struck out 5, and that's it.
And he has struck out 4 of the last 6. Here's Luke Scott, who walked his first time up and looks at a fastball and a strike. Curveball of beauty, but misses on the outside corner. These 2 teams in the final month of the regular season the last 5 years have faced each other 30 times. Houston has won 18 of those matchups, but 19 of the 30 games have been decided by 3 runs or less. Just seems like it's always good baseball between these 2 teams.
Absolutely. And 2 teams that have tremendous respect for each other. Not quite sure the managers are best of friends, but I think the players really enjoy the competition, and there's no hatred at all. It's just a classy organization against a classy organization.
3-1 pitch is tapped. Carpenter has a play, steps and throws, and Pujols is there for the first out. But just think about some of the players that have been part of this rivalry over the last few years, and really you can take it back to '96 when the Central came about. I mean, you're looking at Biggio and Bagwell and Albert Pujols, Edgar Renteria. You know, guys that have been here in the past that were classy individuals and respected the opponent.
You know, Biggio and it's hard for me to not to see Bagwell, because he's was a great player, and as a fan of the game, you just appreciate good players. But another class act. Tough to see those guys come. It looks like Bagwell's through because his shoulder is so bad. But Berkman has almost been the answer to Albert Pujols as far as the Astros concerned.
Darryl Kyle, of course, pitching on both sides of this rivalry.
Billy Wagner, a part of it from so many years. Lidge takes over as a dominant closer.
Notel was dominant for a year or two.
The starting pitchers with Pettit, Clemens. It's just fun baseball.
0-1 pitch out to left center field. That's going to drop in for a hit. So back-to-back singles for Houston.
And they aren't going to quit either.
We're only in the fifth. Hits by Burke and Everett. 2 in the inning, and it brings in Brad Ausmus. It's another classy player, part of this rivalry that we talk about.
Dartmouth grad. Been wearing the uniform a couple different times. There used to be a shuffle between Houston and Detroit.
Here's a ground ball, a chance at a double play. That's one. Double play. 6-3 on the double play. Carpenter will lead it off when we return. Have to tune in. You'll have to tune in.
Position play?
Well, that's a good question, Al. It depends how you want to look at it. I'll say this. There's a couple of guys that come to spring training that are in the Hall of Fame that have worn the birds on the bat that have helped out Albert. And it may surprise you who they are.
I know one is not a position player.
Correct.
And he was probably the biggest influence in my career.
At the knees to Carpenter, a little low. Let's just give it away. One of them is Bob Gibson.
That's where I'm at. Bob Gibson is the kind of guy that if you ask him questions, he will answer.
Another hard hit ball off the bat of Carpenter, backing up to third baseman Lamb.
And if you ask him questions, he'll be more than happy to answer it and give you all the time. But if you don't ask him a question, he won't say a word to you. And I think isn't Albert kind of wondering why guys don't come to him now?
And that's one of the things that we talk about, his role in the game. And we conducted the interview, I guess it was about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago or so. And he specifically named Biggio and Bagwell and Darryl Kyle as huge influences in the game today for him. And I said, what's it like when guys wind up after a base hit and they're standing at first base? I said, there's got to be all kinds of conversations that go on over there, good and bad. And he says, you wouldn't believe it. He said, I've got guys that have sent me video from opposing teams wanting me to help them out. He said, I don't care who they are, opposing team, other leagues, guys on my own team. If they need help, I will help them because other guys have helped me. Berkman, great play, takes an extra base hit away from Miles. That brings in Duncan. So in my own words with Albert will be 10 o'clock on Thursday.
It's that nice play, like you said. Berkman's only committed 6 errors. Albert's committed 5, so you can see 2 of the better defensive first basemen on display tonight.
Well, Pujols will actually do a thing in spring training where he'll take the young players and do a clinic.
He'll go to the minor leagues. Of course, the Cardinals have asked him to do that, and he's more than willing to do that.
He was emphatic in saying, look, if somebody comes to me, I will help them.
Of course,
no matter who it is.
You know, Bob Gibson used to do that. He used to send Bob Gibson down to the minor leagues to talk to pitchers. And Bob tells a story how a young pitcher said, you know, Bob, when I'm warming up or Mr. Gibson, when I'm warming up in the bullpen, I got terrific stuff, but I cross the white lines, and all of a sudden my stuff's not as good. And Bob started talking about that very special muscle that's connected to the backside, kind of the buttocks area, to the arm, and when you hit the mound in the game, it really tightens up. And the kid didn't have any idea what he's talking about.
Oh, Al. Al.
It's the muscle to the arm that tightens up.
Now, what am I supposed to say to that one?
You're right, Al.
I can't top that one. First pitch of ball to Albert Pujols. So again, that show will be Thursday at 10. 1-1 the count. Pujols, a couple of runs scored tonight. He was intentionally walked back in the fourth, singled and scored in the third. Cardinals lead it 7-0 here in their half of the fifth. Breaking ball and a strike evens up the count. Jeff Weaver will go for the Cardinals tomorrow night. All three games of this series will be seen right here on FSN. Marquis and Oswalt on Wednesday, off day Thursday, and then San Francisco. And that pushes back Anthony Reyes.
Right. I think he's going to, might even miss the entire spot in the rotation with the off day. He's complaining about a little tired arm, little dead arm stage. So no need to push him.
Full count, and Duncan will be off with this pitch. Outfield deep for Albert. Here comes a 3-2, and that's ball 4.
Jim Hickey will go out and talk to his young pitcher, as now he is walked 4.
I thought one of the interesting things in the interview with Pujols too was how he got started playing the game of baseball. And he didn't own a glove for a long time as a kid. He said we would play with anything. Lemons were baseballs. Man, whatever we could throw and hit, that's how he learned how to play the game. You'll see that show Thursday at 10. Cardinal fans, September 15th, the Cardinals take on the Giants. That's this Friday, and the first 25,000 fans 21 and over receive an inaugural season replica of Busch Stadium courtesy of Busch Beer. For more information or tickets, give the Cardinals a call, and the number is 345-9000.
Even Ozzie Smith, his first glove, I think, was a milk carton.
That's what Albert said he used.
Yeah, so can't comprehend until you've been down the Dominican and those kids will use anything and everything to simulate bat, ball, and sometimes we look at our kids here in the States won't even play unless they have an organized uniform and league.
1-0 pitch on its way.
I'll get somebody up in the bullpen right now. Nothing physically wrong, and you can't throw strikes, you're afraid.
And time called. Cardinals knocked out their starter, Taylor Buchholz. He went 3 1/3, gave up 5 runs. Cardinals have 7 on the night. A high strike to Rolen. 2 balls and 1 strike. For my money, he's the comeback player of the year, Scott Rolen. Multiple surgeries on his shoulder, playing every day now.
Maintain that average over 300. 19 home runs, 82 RBIs. Springer, who's gotten up in the pen for the Astros.
Could be a key getting into their bullpen here in game 1.
It shouldn't be as dramatic, with the September call-ups.
Scott Rowland, it took a while for him to pick up that first home run in spring training until the final week in spring, and he said, don't worry about it, I'll be there once the season starts. And for pretty much the entire year, he has hit above 300, and he's one away from 20 on the season in the home run department. Called third strike on the inside corner. Rowland didn't like it. The Cardinals strand 2. 6th inning coming up. 3-4 on the year. 12th start by the Cardinals and 28th overall tomorrow night. Charlton Jimerson is the pinch hitter. Jimerson, the pinch hitter for Nieve. Nieve gave up a couple of runs. And it's popped up, and that's how we start the 6th inning. Backing up, Pujols along with Belliard. It's going to be Ronnie. Ronnie Belliard takes it for the first out. Telling Pujols, get out of here. I got that pop up. Carpenter has been sharp again tonight. 3 hits allowed. 1 point, he struck out 4 of 6. He's got 5 on the night total. Top of the order, here's Biggio. Grounder hit to the shortstop. Handled by Miles, 2 away. Stay tuned later tonight. It's the Busch Light Midwest Sports Report. If you have a Cardinals question, email it at mwsr@foxsports.net. The experts will be standing by on the Busch Light Midwest Sports Report. 2 outs and nobody on. Here's Mike Lamb, and Lamb is 0 for 2. He was caught stealing in the first after he, rather 1 for 2 after he singled. And hits this one out to left field. 4 pitches in the inning for Carpenter. Midway through 6, and it's all St. Louis in game 1. Let's take a look at our hot pitch of the game presented by Hardee's, and Carpenter has struck out 5 tonight. And twice he has gotten Lance Berkman, their most dangerous hitter in this lineup. And the reigning Cy Young Award winner is sailing along. It's 7-0 Cardinals. Behind 6 hits for the Redbirds tonight. Walks have been a major problem for Houston tonight.
Just 8.
8 walks.
3 of them intentional.
And the Cardinals have Spezio here in their half of the 6th. 5 years later, we remember September 11th. Baseball tonight here at Busch Stadium. The heart of America. Call to the bullpen brought to you by your Mid-America Chevrolet dealers. Right-hander in, Dave Borkowski.
Pitched 2 or more innings in 18 of his 34 appearances. So he'll probably try and get as much out of him as they can and save the heart of their order for tomorrow.
On the outside corner, 2-1 on Spezio. Scott doubled his first time up. Fly to center in the 3rd, intentionally walked in the 4th, and came around to score on the Belliard triple to clear the bases. Grounder hit to the second baseman, and the leadoff man retired as Biggio puts away Scott Spezio. That brings in Encarnacion. Juan with a couple of RBIs. Walked with the bases loaded. That was with 2 outs in the 4th, and also picked up a 2-out RBI base hit in the 3rd. That got the Cardinals on the board.
Sixth and 7th in the order have done most of the damage.
Juan got off to a terrible start, but numbers at the end of the year are going to look pretty good. And he has been a valuable pickup when you talk about defensively. The Cardinals have had to deal with Edmonds unavailable. I mean, he just, hasn't been able to play here for about a month, and Juan has taken the bulk of those starts in center field.
And sometimes you have to question or find out who could play shortstop like Miles has done, who could play center field like Encarnacion has done, when you think of 2 of your positions that were irreplaceable.
Here comes a 1-1 pitch. Out to right field. Aubrey Huff. 2 away. Let's take a look at the night for Ronnie Belliard, which includes 4 RBIs. Belliard, his second time up, an RBI single. This made it 2-0. But the big blow in this game, bases loaded, 2 outs in the 4th, and hits it to the base of the wall right off the Bud Light sign. And 3 runners would come around to score.
Ronnie had been 0 for 20 before he got his first 2-out base hit. So in his case, he hopes streaks do follow streaks.
First 4 RBI game as a Cardinal. He had 3 with the Indians this season.
He had 10 RBIs as a Cardinal coming in, and 4 tonight.
And that triple is first this season. Here comes a 1-1 pitch. We talk about all the injuries with this club. You think about the job that Tony La Russa has done. Coming off back-to-back 100-win seasons. Many ways he's had to mix and match with this team. More so than in the last couple of years because of the injuries. Cardinals go 1-2-3, and it sends us to the 7th. And the Cardinals lead at 7-0. Cardinals with a lead of 7-0 here in St. Louis. Game 1 of a 3-game set. All games will be seen here on FSN. Cardinals have left 9 on. They have only 6 hits, but the Astros have walked 8 tonight. With a sizable lead and the innings piling up, at what point do you think, okay, lead is somewhat safe, we head to the bullpen and give Carpenter the final 2 innings off, or maybe the final inning off?
That's a great question, and sometimes, you know, you run into trouble thinking that here's our guy, we're trying to get him, you know, the Cy Young. A shutout would look awfully good. Complete games and shutouts look great. He has a low pitch total, but most of the time, you know, when you start thinking from about the 7th inning on, that's when you can do structural damage, or your arm is stretched out to the point where it can do some harm. But
last inning certainly helped his cause, only 4 pitches.
And hopefully it'll be the same here.
And this is Aubrey Huff, who's playing right field tonight.
Now, a lot of times you'll get a situation where in September you got, you know, people, either you're out of the race or you're out of a game, and they go up there swinging at the first or second pitch. That's why so many no-hitters are thrown in September.
Here comes an 0-2 pitch. Aubrey was with Tampa Bay. Free agent to be. Nasty stuff from Carpenter tonight. 6 strikeouts tonight.
Carpenter. The breaking ball, and that is a pitch that he hasn't been real consistent with tonight. But you can tell by that one there that it fooled a pretty good hitter.
Florida wins again 16-5 over the Mets. This will be pitch number 7 of the inning. Wow. Deep in the hole, Miles throws wildly. Don't get hurt, Albert.
Now, he didn't have a handle on it, and then actually instead of getting up on top, he kind of just had to shot put it over there. And so it had that high trajectory. Albert did the right thing and coming off the bag, and it's an infield single.
Like he slipped a little bit too.
Yeah, I think that might have been more so. His feet kind of goes out from underneath. He goes to his right, and then he goes over there, and there you saw the back foot slip when he went to plant the foot, and that got him where instead of getting on top of the throw, he kind of shot put it.
Swing and a miss by Chris Burke, who was 1 for 2 tonight. In the National League wild card at the start of play tonight, San Diego led it by 2.5 games over Florida. So that's down to 2. San Diego not playing tonight.
they're closer to L.A. and the division lead.
And that is a game and a half.
But there were 3 clubs that tied at 2.5 games back.
Florida, the Phillies, and San Francisco.
But, you know, it's important, Dan, because remember towards the Cardinals dominated against Houston last year, but then the last series, they beat up on the Cardinals. Cardinals said, we had the big lead, it's not important. But that series convinced the Astros that they could beat the Cardinals in the league championship play.
1-2 pitch.
So Florida playing the Mets right now and killing them 16-5. Those are very important games psychologically. 2-2 pitch. Didn't want the cutter. Curveball.
And he stays away, and the count runs full.
Got on top of it. Had good downward action, but off the plate.
Houston started play tonight, 4 games out in the wild card.
Fastball in.
Slowly hit and foul. And they started in the Central, 5 games out. For a limited time, St. Louis and Metro East McDonald's will be distributing Turn 2 coupons. The coupon allows fans to get a free ticket when they purchase another ticket for the final week of September. Tickets remain in most seating sections. You can redeem coupons at the Busch Stadium ticket office while supplies last.
And there's a lot available for that San Diego series.
And you can pick up your Turn 2 coupon today at McDonald's.
How about Monday, September 25th? 3,300 tickets, field box, loge box, casino queen party porch, terrace box, and pavilion box. Now last week, there's tickets for every game except for Sunday, the last game of the year, which is already sold out, Fan Appreciation Day.
Going back inside and fouled off again. Pretty good battle here with Burke and Carpenter.
And what you'd hope to be that real quick and efficient inning now is 9 pitches this at bat.
Pitch count at 87.
They want the fastball in, fastball away. He throws it in anyway.
Pitch at 94 miles an hour. And we'll do it again. Pittsburgh over Milwaukee 4-3. Washington and Arizona just underway. Out to right field, and it drops in for a hit. And Chris Burke wins the battle against Carpenter. Good at bat. Back-to-back singles. And it brings in Adam Everett, the shortstop, who's committed 2 errors tonight. And he's 1 for 2. Hit into a fielder's choice and single to left center field. Yankees leading Baltimore. That's in the 8th. It's 8-6. Minnesota 6. Oakland 1. That's in the 7th. White Sox and Angels just underway.
No 91 pitches thrown right now. Hopefully he can retire them and then make that decision that we talked about. And go 7 shutout innings.
Grounder pulled foul. Carpenter is due up second, so very well can make that decision a little bit easier.
Now 7-0 lead. You know, if they want to keep him out there, it'd be real easy too. But I would think that this stage of the season, and you would make that decision and just call it quits. Hopefully it's 7 shutout innings.
How about Minnesota? They lead it by 5 runs in the 7th. If they win that ball game tonight, Detroit idle they would only be a game and a half out. Reaches for it. Scott Rowland. Force play at second. And on September 11th, 2006, it's time to stretch here in St. Louis at Busch Stadium. Is today's merchandise winner in the Hyundai Long Drive Inning Sweepstakes. If the Cardinals hit a home run, Robert Holman qualifies for the Hyundai Sonata drawing in September. To register, visit a St. Louis area Hyundai dealer. 8 walks by the Astros tonight. And it's the 4th time this season they have allowed 8 or more walks in a game. Their season high is 11. And if you're wondering, it's the 4th time this season that the Cardinals have received 8 or more walks. 3-0 in the previous games in which we've seen this take place. Cardinals season high as far as receiving walks, 9.
Unachieved that, and it looks like Carpenter will bat for himself to stay in the game.
Nobody getting loose in the Cardinals' pen. Tony in his last start really tried to just squeeze one more inning out of Carpenter as he lasted 5 1/3.
Well, if you remember, though, he just got a 3-1 lead. And, you know, you always know that he's going to give you at least 6 innings. Gave up a couple hits, and you know, but it all started with a walk. Started with a walk, then a bunch of hits. Then the score was tied, and he tried to leave him in there a little longer. And the bullpen did the job behind him, so he gave up all the runs. Gave up 5 runs, 4 of which were earned, but and you know, at that time he was hoping to get his 14th win, that today would be his 15th win, but it just was a rare time that Carpenter couldn't get through that 6th.
Crowd tonight of 41,061. And yes, it is sold out again. Broken bat, and it's pulled to the secret weapon, Jose Oquendo.
Semi-secret weapon. Secret weapon would have caught it. He dropped it.
Well, no glove. I mean,
hey,
give him a break.
The secret weapon in his prime would have sucked it up, would not have missed it.
I'm sure one of us will get pulled to the side tomorrow.
Not by Jose.
And a ground ball hit into the hole. Everett, though, with time, with Molina running, and makes a good play. So Carpenter hits for himself. 1 on, nobody on. Sports Ultimate Nightly Highlight Show is here. The FSN Final Score. Every great highlight, every unforgettable moment. Every night on FSN. It's the only national show that gives you nothing but wall-to-wall highlights. FSN Final Score tonight, 11:30 on FSN Midwest. Carpenter has hit the ball hard 3 times tonight. And he looks at a fastball and a strike. If the Astros cannot come back tonight, drops them 6 games back of St. Louis. And the past 2 seasons, Houston has qualified for the playoffs as the wild card, never finishing closer than 11 games back of the Cardinals. They had furious second halves as Carpenter strikes out. And here is Miles with 2 outs. On Sunday, they had a chance to get back to 500, which would have been the first time at the 500 mark since July 6th. And Miles hits it to the second baseman. Cardinals go 1-2-3. And we head to the 8th. All St. Louis tonight. It's 7-0. Brought to you by Singular Wireless. Who should win the Cy Young Award in the National League? Carpenter, Webb, Oswalt, Zambrano, other. Let's see. It's a Cardinals telecast. Let's figure out who the vote may go to.
How about that?
You're as shocked as I am as it goes to Carpenter and our Singular Wireless.
And check out, it is a St. Louis telecast because look at where Zambrano finished. Other finished ahead of Carlos.
Pitch that's up, and it's hit out to left. Encarnacion, the last second, makes the catch, and not Spezio. That helps out Carpenter. One pitch, one out.
Oh, that's best friend. But, you know, Spezio, you come over here, and now you see, or you start hearing Encarnacion yell, and then he was able to duck under the reach. Crossing pattern.
Orlando Palmeiro, who is moving up that pinch hitters chart as far as total pinch hits in his career, will be the pinch hitter here.
Congratulations to Orlando. He became the 18th player to have 100 pinch hits in his career. He's got the second most to Mark Sweeney in pinch hits and pinch hit RBIs of active players.
2 pitches, 2 outs.
Well, that's how you allow a guy to get a complete game.
Spezio surely would take a strike, wouldn't he? 96 pitches for Carpenter tonight.
Darn it, yes. Craig 0 for 3, came in batting .360 off of Chris.
Look at that curveball, nasty stuff. Now a question mark becomes if he can get through this very easily, do you bring him back out there for the 9th?
I think now is basically it's whatever Chris wants. You know, if he's got the shutout intact and he wants the shutout, you let him start it. That's one of those deals where you don't really want him to do it unless he can get through that inning and keep the shutout intact.
Check swing, and he did not go. Still in there.
Kim Cheetah, the first base umpire, said no, he didn't go.
And the count is 2-2. 101 tonight for Carpenter. No activity in the Cardinal bullpen.
It's not like the old days where complete games meant that much, but shutouts still are awful special. He's got 3 complete games and 2 shutouts.
If he can hold on tonight, he'll go to 14-6. ERA would drop even further to 2.87.
Brandon Webb is right at 3 after he threw the 1-hit shutout against the Cardinals.
6 strikeouts tonight. He's at 164, so he's ahead of Webb in that department. Webb is 15-6. Oswalt, we'll see him Wednesday afternoon, is 12-8. He's approaching 200 innings. And Biggio's making that decision on Tony a little tougher.
Yeah, he is. And, if you think about it, a couple at bats the last 2 innings have been long pitch counts.
And a walk by Biggio.
Second walk of the night. Lamb, who is one of his biggest nemesis coming in, was a .455 hitter, 10 for 22 with a home run. He's 1 for 3 on the night.
And a grounder back to Carpenter. He is through 8. Duncan Pujols rolling coming up. Let's take a look at our game recap brought to you by Jack in the Box. The Cardinals have a lead of 7-0 as we remember here on September 11th. And it's been all Carpenter tonight. Carpenter's through 8 innings, no runs allowed. And the Astros with only 5 hits. Cardinals picked up 2 runs in the 3rd, but their big inning was a 5-run 4th, highlighted by the Belliard triple with the bases loaded. That's your Jack in the Box game recap. Still no activity in the Cardinal bullpen, so it looks like it's going to be up to Carpenter to finish this baby off. Duncan will lead it off. Russ Springer, the former Cardinal, who's had a couple of solid years with Houston, will be the reliever.
Chris Burke now playing second base. Palmeiro stays in the game and is playing left field, and Scott moved from left to center.
Duncan on the first pitch, grounds out. In steps Albert.
Carpenter is going to get that chance to finish the ball game, and Tony just will hope that he picks up his fourth complete game, his third shutout, and has a very quick and efficient ninth inning.
First pitch to Albert Pujols.
Pittsburgh helps out the Cardinals by defeating Milwaukee, who pretty much their season's over.
To the opposite way, and that's a base hit, maybe two for Albert Pujols. He's thinking two. On his way to second with a double. Never quits. On base for the fourth time tonight. Cardinal Baseball on FSN Midwest is brought to you by Busch. Smooth Busch beer and easy drinking Busch Light. By Chevrolet. See your Mid-America Chevy dealer today. Chevy and American Revolution. And by Advance Auto. We're ready in advance. Al Raboski, Dan McLaughlin with you from Busch Stadium in St. Louis.
This is interesting. After the double by Pujols, John Rodriguez is going to pinch hit for Scott Rowland. Of course, you can put John in the outfield, put Spezio at third base, but not any indication that something is hurt.
And that's going to be it for Springer. So Phil Garner goes to his bullpen.
Trevor Miller.
Cardinals leading 7-0 here in the bottom of the eighth.
Comes in this ball game. He's the only left-hander in that pen. 57th appearance. He has not allowed a run in 11 consecutive outings since August 15th. He's a short man, so that's only covers a span of 8 innings. And he's very good at not allowing inherited runners to score. Only 5 of 32 inherited runners have scored against him this year. It's the second lowest total in the percentage of inherited runners scored in the National League, just 15.6%.
J-Rod. John Rodriguez with one out and a runner at second. It's a breaking ball and fouls it back. 7-0 Cardinals. 2 runs in the third and 5 in the fourth. Cardinals only have 7 hits.
See 8 walks, 3 of which have been intentional passes. And that helped open it up, but also some 2-out base hits.
Ninth inning. 3, 4, and 5 in the order coming up for Houston. Chris Carpenter will try to finish it off. Chance for a complete game. The first game of a very important series against Houston.
Make a statement with Carpenter that we know you're playing good baseball, but the Cardinals are still the reigning champs, and you are behind us in the standings. And that bullpen will be well rested.
Here's a 2-2 pitch. And it's up to Spezio with 2 outs and a runner at second. That's Pools. Scott Spezio, as you said, Al, had just a terrific road trip. And I mentioned I feel he's swinging the hottest bat in this lineup, arguably, along with Pujols. Pops this one up. Ausmus will give it a look, and it's out of play. But he's really provided a lift and given Tony some versatility.
I think he's the best offseason acquisition the Cardinals had this year. Because you really didn't know what he had left in the tank. And now you see he's got plenty for 06, and you want to see more in 07.
Remember that final week of spring training, he couldn't buy a hit.
No, I mean, he made the team the first 2 weeks, and then the rest of spring training he tried to give it back. But because of his veteran status and versatility, you know, they stuck with him, and he's paid off.
12 home runs for Spezio this year. He has doubled tonight. Intentionally walked back in the 4th and came around to score. That was that big 4th inning where the Cardinals picked up 5. Oh my goodness. Where is that pitch?
29 of his 45 RBIs have come with 2 outs. Had 4 home runs on the recent road trip. Hit .353. Started games in left field, second base.
I was about to say, I mean,
third base.
He doesn't embarrass himself at all
no.
defensively. He plays those positions just fine. The 1-2 is sent out to deep left field. Palmeiro back. It stays in the ballpark, and he makes the catch. We head to the 9th. Carpenter will try to finish it off when we come back.
But right here, right after the game for the Busch Light Midwest Sports Report, Jim Hayes will have the star of the game. We'll also bring you Tony Lewis's live post-game comments, and we'll head over to Rams Park to check in with the 1-0 Rams. That's coming up right after the game. Dan and Al, we'll see you then.
All right, Pat, thanks. Congratulations to Scott Linehan and the Rams and Jim Haslett. What a job the defense did yesterday, and the Rams are 1-0. We've got baseball on our minds tonight here at Busch, though, with the job that Carpenter has done. He has struck out Berkman a couple of times, just in case a righty is up and getting loose in the bullpen. 7-0 St. Louis here in the 9th. Ground ball, Belliard from the outfield grass. Berkman is 0 for 4. An all-important first out.
Fastball running away, and Berkman, who's had that bad knee, but it looked like he put a little more effort than that. Especially as that was not as easy a play for Belliard.
Huff off the glove of Pujols, and Aubrey Huff is aboard. So we'll see Carpenter end it with a double play.
Carpenter's gone. Goes to try and backhand it, and it hits up in the glove, up in the palm of the hand, and Belliard was in position behind him, so when it deflected it away from Belliard, it guaranteed a hit. It's only the 6th hit that Carpenter is allowed.
Cardinals have turned a double play tonight. That was Ausmus back in the 5th. This is Luke Scott with 1 out and a runner at first. Lifts it to the opposite field. That's Skip Schumacher, who just checked into the game, over to get it. And Houston is making the decision to bring back Carpenter a little bit easier because they're not wasting any time in there.
Well, I mean, guys today don't go up there. I mean, the excuse is that the first pitch you see is going to be the best pitch. But when you're swinging at the first pitch and a pitcher knows that, he doesn't have to throw his best pitch.
Carpenter 1 out away from going to 14-6 And the ERA will drop. First pitch, a swing and a miss.
110 pitches. So not extremely high total.
And the 0-1 pitch. Outside.
You just wonder why Huff doesn't take second base.
Got to figure the contenders for the Cy Young Award: Carpenter, Webb, Oswalt, Johnson of Florida, Zambrano, and Trevor Hoffman. And Carpenter's making a statement tonight here on September 11th.
Take his time a little bit as he's wearing down just a bit.
The 2-1 pitch. 2-2.
Don't want to get this far and then make a careless mistake. 92 miles an hour in the last delivery.
A win would set Houston 6 games back. And the 2-2. Ground ball hit to short. This should do it. Gobbled up, thrown to first, and Chris Carpenter is now 14-6. 7-0 the final. A 6-hit shutout. Third complete shutout game of the season. Did it the 14th against the Dodgers, the 15th against Cincinnati. 5th time he's gone 7+ innings with no runs allowed. And our play of the game is brought to you by Bud. And it's the Belliard triple with the bases loaded. Part of that 5-run fourth, and the Cardinals held on. And our final tonight, 7-0. Back with more in a moment. 7-0 for St. Louis, 0-6-2 for Houston, and it was the Chris Carpenter show here tonight.
Well, he was outstanding. He went out there and made a statement, not only for personal reasons in the Cy Young, but more importantly to himself. He made a statement for the Cardinals defeating Houston, the team that most of us are most concerned of.
Cardinal Baseball, produced by Bud Productions, an exclusive presentation of FSN Midwest. Our next Cardinals broadcast will be tomorrow night here on FSN. We'll come your way with the pregame show at 6:30. Final score tonight, the Cardinals 7, the Astros 0. Stay tuned. It's the Midwest Sports Report coming up.
Everybody, and welcome back to Busch Stadium for this Cardinals postgame edition of the Busch Light Midwest Sports Report. 41,061 fans leaving happy as the Cardinals take the first game of this 3-game set from the Astros, 7-0. I'm Pat Paris. Jeff Gordon of STLtoday.com and the Post-Dispatch will join me shortly. We're going to take your phone calls. We'll also bring you Tony La Russa's live postgame comments. Right now, though, we're going to go back down to the field. Jim Hayes is standing by with who else? Chris Carpenter, our star of the game. It's brought to you by Ace Mortgage. They're at the scene. Jim, take it away.
Fourth complete game for Chris Carpenter. Coming into this series, you know, they're 5 games back with the 7 games remaining. I know you guys take it one series at a time. This one was a little bigger, right?
For me, I was coming out to try to pitch my game and do the best job I can for us to win. You know, I think every game is a big game for the rest of the year from here on out. We got to get rolling and put together some good baseball games and get some pitching going and do all the above and play Cardinal baseball. And fortunately tonight we did it.
I know you can never be too comfortable where you are, but considering the ups and downs, the cushion you guys have, you have to feel pretty good about where you are.
But yeah, I mean, we got a nice lead. I mean, if we go out and play our game and do what we can to win games, we should be okay. I'm sure that the people behind us wish that they had the 5-game or 4.5-game lead at this time. So we just got to go out and play and play hard, and hopefully we can come out tomorrow and get another one.
Chris, thanks for the time.
All right, you're welcome.
Guys, Chris loves pitching at home. Coming into tonight, his ERA at home, 1.60. Let's go upstairs to you.
All right, Jim, it's now down to 1.47. Our thanks to Chris Carpenter as well. He picks up his 14th win, and essentially, Al, here at home, he's unhittable.
Well, it's outstanding. He goes out there and he does the job. He has the lowest ERA in the major leagues at his home ballpark. But I think the biggest thing is what he said. If they go out and take care of their business, no one can catch them. And that is the goal for this ball club, is to not only finish strong, but to go out and play good, solid baseball the rest of the way.
Well, the fourth inning, the Cardinals had a 5-run inning. It was highlighted by Ronnie Belliard. He had a good night.
Well, he did. He got a couple base hits with the bases with 2 outs. Here's the first RBI he got, but the fourth inning is the big blow you're talking about. Pitch up, and he hits it up against the wall. It gets by both outfielders, center and left, clears the bases with the bases loaded, and he also had a little funny moment on defense.
A little defense here. He says, Albert, get out of the way. Now catch the glance. Hey, get out of my way. I'm taking the pop-up. Easy, Ronnie. Easy, buddy. All right, so Jeff Weaver is going tomorrow for the Cardinals. It's Andy Pettit, who was supposed to go tonight. He'll go tomorrow for the Astros. That's a good matchup, too.
And Pettit is throwing the ball extremely well. He's going to be a handful, but the Cardinals are very comfortable the way Jeff Weaver's throwing. So let's go see another classic matchup between 2 very good teams.
Pre-game show at 6:30. We send it back over to Pat.
Guys, thanks very much. We'll see you then. Card shortstop David Eckstein still suffering from that strained oblique, suffered while sliding into home back on August 18th, but Eckstein is making some strides in his return to the Cards. He's been doing some soft tossing on the side and just recently began swinging a bat and taking ground balls. But Eckstein says he's still experiencing discomfort from the injury. He's not sure when he'll be able to return.
It's still up in the air. It's one of those things that, definitely the progress we've made this last week, everyone's very encouraged, and so we're just going to try and stay on that pace. Right now I am doing soft toss, swinging with full range and stuff. We haven't stepped it up to any type of overhand pitch yet, but and on the ground balls, you saw me out there taking the ground balls, feeling good. I just got to stay within a range, and the big thing is when really driving down. If I have to really drive down, that's where I kind of feel it. But I felt really free out there, and things are going well.
Well, the Astros and Cardinals will be seeing a lot of each other the rest of the way this season. In fact, this is game 1 tonight of 7 that they'll meet over the last 2 weeks of the season. It's an important one, of course, for the Cardinals because coming in, they just had a 5-game lead over the Astros. They extended that to 6 tonight. We talked to the Cardinals about this series, though, before tonight's ball game.
There's importance to this series, like I said, there isn't any question, and we have a chance to play better baseball and get going, and we can, like you said, we can create some space right now, make it real tough for them, and make it tough for the Reds also.
They're a good team, man. I don't think we can count them out until, somebody clinches. Hopefully it's us, but we gotta. They're a good team, man. It's not going to be a cakewalk by any means, so we got to come ready to play and get after them.
Cardinals closer Jason Isringhausen undergoing an exam today on his injured left hip. The team is awaiting results. Tests. Manager Tony La Russa doesn't expect Izzy to make an appearance against the Astros. The closer could be available on Friday against the Giants. All right, Tony La Russa ceremony to remember the 5-year anniversary of 9/11. Top of the third, no score. Chris Carpenter sharp tonight, catches Brad Osmus looking for the first out of the game, and then strikes out Craig Biggio to end the inning here. It should be a third inning, I should say. Bottom of the third with 2 on and 2 outs. Juan Encarnacion drives a single to center. That's going to score Chris Duncan. St. Louis on the board, leading 1-0. Top of the board, 2-0 now. Chris Carpenter, all business, takes care of Mike Lamb and Lance Berkman back-to-back. That's 4 strikeouts in 5 batters. Bottom of the fourth, and it's getting sticky for the starter for the Astros, Tyler Buchholz. Only 1 out. He intentionally wants Albert Pujols to load the bases. That would be it for Buchholz. His replacement, Fernando Nieve, not much better. They're giving up an RBI ground out to Scott Rowland. Intentionally walks Scott Spezio. That loads the bases. And Juan Encarnacion and Chris Duncan walks Juan Encarnacion. Chris Duncan scores. That's 4-0. Very next batter, Ronnie Belliard, and he breaks the game open. Takes the 1-0 pitch, almost turns it into a grand slam off the wall, clears the bases. He's going to make it into third on the triple, and the Cards have a 7-0 lead. That's all Chris Carpenter needs. Top of the 8th, fields the Mike Lamb hit, throws it back over to first, and that'll end the inning. On to the top of the 9th, 2 outs. Carpenter going for the complete game. Chris Burke, 2-2 pitch, grounds it to short. Aaron Miles makes the out as the throw over first gets him. Chris Carpenter, his 4th complete game of the season, 3rd complete game shutout. Finishes with 6 strikeouts, couple of walks, just 6 hits. The final score 7-0. Chris Carpenter improves now to 14-6, lowers his ERA to 2.84, and has to get serious consideration and should be considered the front runner for the NL Cy Young again. Ronnie Belliard with the big night, 2 for 4, a triple and the 4 RBIs, and that was just part of the offensive performance tonight. You see Albert Pujols, a couple of hits and a couple of walks and a couple of runs scored. So all in all, you get pitching.
Physically, I feel good. My stuff's good, and I feel strong, and I feel like I can go out and do my job when I need to. And tonight was a nice night. I had good stuff, kept the ball down, and made some good pitches. All night long, both sides of the play, kept them off balance, and some good defensive plays, and some great at bats from some of our guys in that one inning. I mean, Scott's at bat, Dunk's at bat to get on there. I mean, there's all kinds of bats tonight that were the things that we do to be good, and it was a nice quality game all around.
Do you think you're pitching at this point better than you were last year?
I don't know. I feel like I'm pitching good. No question about it. I don't, to be honest with you, I don't remember what it felt like last year. So, I'm concerned about my next start, and tonight was a good one, a good win. Hopefully we can come tomorrow and get another one.
Nice bounce-back game for you, but also for the team. Just good timing all the way around.
Yeah, it was. Last time out I didn't do my job, and I had an opportunity to go out there and win that game, and unfortunately it got away from me. But tonight was a nice night again against a quality offensive team that plays us tough, and it was a big win.
Is that the toughest thing for a pitcher? Is to you have a tough outing, is to sit there and wait to your next turn?
No, I think about what I did last time out for that night, and talk with Dunk the next day about some of the things that I could have done different, and move on. I get 5 days to prepare myself for the next team, and I look ahead and try to take the positive things that I did from that start and come out and apply them in the next start. And I felt good, and like I said, it felt good all night. Obviously it's a great place to pitch. I enjoy pitching in front of our home fans, but I have no answer for it except that I've been able to pitch well. I don't know what the reason